come to order, we invite our guests to please rise as we open with prayer. We will be led in prayer by Pastor Jeff Toring of Liberty Valley Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag and the Republic. Pastor?
Let us pray together. Our Heavenly Father, we come into your presence with thanksgiving, and your word teaches us to do so. We come in very grateful and thankful. We also come boldly as the Apostle Paul has told us to. And Lord, as I come into these walls, the architecture and the things that I have seen as we entered in does reflect just a small portion of your majesty. And just walking in brings an air of humility. And with that, we recognize that as we bow our heads and close our eyes and are in your presence, we admit that we have sinned. We don't deny it. We're not stiff-necked. We have this we're just bent to do wrong and to choose wrong. And the choosing that happens within these walls is very important, and it affects millions of people within our state. And so we would ask that by your Spirit we could choose, and we know that we can by the power of your Spirit, that we can choose to do right. And so we would ask that that would take place here, not only today, but in the days to come, as our country and our state, our republic, is in rough seas, and we need your Spirit more so to man the oars and to be at the helm. And we'll thank you for it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Pastor. Appreciate it. Thanks for coming. The clerk will read the journal of the previous day.
Senate Chamber, Columbus, Ohio, Tuesday, October 5th, 9:30 a.m. 10 bills were introduced and considered the first time. 6 resolutions were offered and adopted. 1 resolution was offered and referred to committee on the motion of Senator Craig. The Senate adjourned to Wednesday, October 6th at 1:30 p.m.
The question is, shall the journal be agreed to? And without objection, the journal is agreed to. Under points of personal privilege, Senator Rogner with a presentation. If the Senator would come forward with her guests to the well.
And Senator Mahara, Senator Blessing. (1921), 100 years ago, the American Physical Therapists Association was founded. Back in that year, they had 274 members. Now they have over 100,000. In 1921, the annual fee, the annual dues for that organization was $2. Now it's like $465. There are there's 51 chapters. So in every state, there's a chapter, plus in D.C. And in Ohio's chapter was founded in 1951, and we have almost 4,000 members there. I would like to point out that in Ohio, there are almost 20,000 physical therapists and physical therapist assistants. And we are excited because just this year, Senator Blessing and I worked together with the Ohio Physical Therapists Association to pass Senate Bill 5, which then joins Ohio to the compact of states. There's 32 states right now, I believe. Ohio is the 32nd. And so that they can operate and work across state lines. So it's very exciting stuff. And I'm here today to present the resolution to Dr. Tanya Apke. So congratulations, and please join me in wishing her, we won't sing, we'll just clap, happy birthday to the American Physical Therapists Association. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Rogner and Senator Blessing. Reports of reference and bills for second consideration.
Senator Matt Huffman reports in the Standing Committee on Rules and Reference, recommend the following bills and resolutions staying in order for second consideration be referred to the committee as recommended, and the report is properly signed.
Question is, shall the report be agreed to? And without objection, the report is agreed to. Reports of standing and select committees. Senator Hoagland with 2 reports.
Senator Hoagland submitted the following reports. The Standing Committee on Veterans and Public Safety, to which is referred Senate Bill 168. Senator Hoagland, having the same consideration, reports it back and recommends its passage. Standing Committee on Veterans and Public Safety, to which is referred Senate Bill 185. Senator Schaefer and others, having the same consideration, reports back a substitute bill and recommends its passage.
Senator Kunze with a report.
Senator Kunze submitted the following report. The Standing Committee on Transportation, to which was referred substitute House Bill 291, Representative Callender, Troy, and others, having the same consideration, reports back a substitute bill and recommends its passage.
Senator Steve Huffman with a report.
Senator Steve Huffman submitted the following report. The Standing Committee on Health, to which was referred to Senate Bill 204, Senator Rogner, having the same consideration, reports it back and recommends its passage. No reports are properly signed.
The question is, shall the reports be agreed to? Without objection, the reports are agreed to.
President Huffman with an advise and consent report of governor's appointments.
Senator Matt Huffman submitted the following report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Reference, to which for the appointment by the governor of Tracy Sanchez, having the same consideration, reports back the recommendation that the Senate advise and consent to said appointment.
The question is, shall the Senate advise and consent to the appointment of the governor? Chair recognizes President Huffman for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to Senate Rule 59, a request to be excused from voting on the advise and consent report.
Without objection, the motion is agreed to. The question is, shall the Senate advise and consent to the appointment of the governor? Clerk, call the roll.
Antoni? Yes. Blessing? Yes. Brenner? Yes. Serino? Yes. Craig? Yes. Dolan? Yes. Fetter? Yes. Gavarone? Yes. Hackett? Yes. Hoagland? Yes. Hottinger?
Yes.
Steve Huffman? Yes. Johnson? Yes. Kunze? Yes. Lang? Yes. Mahra? Yes. Manning? Yes. McCauley? Yes. O'Brien? Yes. Peterson? Yes. Reineke? Yes. Rogner? Yes. Romanchuk? Rulli? Yes. Schaefer? Yes. Scheuring? Yes. Sykes? Yes. Thomas? Yes. Williams? Yes. Wilson? Yes. Yuko? Yes. President Huffman is excused.
With 31 yeas and 0 nays, the Senate does advise and consent to the appointment of the governor.
Very good. Thank you, Senator Hottinger. Senator Matt Huffman with an advise and consent report of governor's appointments.
Senator Matt Huffman submitted the following report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Reference, to which referred the appointments by the governor of Tammy Babo and others, having the same consideration, reports back the recommendation that the Senate advise and consent to said appointments.
The question is, shall the Senate advise and consent to the appointments of the governor? Please call the roll.
Antoni? Yes. Blessing? Yes. Brenner? Yes. Serino? Yes. Craig? Yes. Dolan? Yes. Fetter? Yes. Gavarone? Yes. Hackett? Yes. Hoagland? Yes. Hottinger? Yes. Steve Huffman? Yes. Johnson? Yes. Kunze? Yes. Lang? Yes. Mahra? Yes. Manning? Yes. McCauley? Yes. O'Brien? Yes. Peterson? Yes. Reineke? Yes. Rogner? Yes. Romanchuk? Yes. Rulli? Yes. Schaefer? Yes. Scheuring? Yes. Sykes? Yes. Thomas? Yes. Williams? Yes. Wilson? Yes. Yuko? Yes. President Huffman.
Yes. With 32 yeas and 0 nays, the Senate does advise and consent to the appointments of the governor. Message from the House.
Mr. President, I am directed to inform you that the House of Representatives has concurred in the passage of the following bill, Substitute Senate Bill Number 1, Senators Wilson, McCauley, and others, to amend and enact sections of the revised code relating to teaching financial literacy in high school to provide discretion regarding educational requirements of substitute teachers for the 2021-22 school year and to declare an emergency as a substitute bill in which concurrence of the Senate is requested.
The chair recognizes Senator Hottinger for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that House amendments to Senate Bill 1 be brought up for immediate consideration.
The question is, shall the motion be agreed to? Without objection, the motion is agreed to. The question is, shall the Senate concur in House amendments to Senate Bill Number 1? The chair recognizes Senator Wilson.
How often do we get an opportunity to do something that is probably one of the most important things you'll ever do for the kids of the state of Ohio, this generation and generations to come? It's back. It passed unanimously. Senate Bill 1 out of the Senate committee. Thank you, Andy Brenner. It passed unanimously out of the full Senate. Thank you all. It passed unanimously out of the House Education Committee. Thank you, Representative Manning. And it passed 94-1 on the House floor. But it is different, and you need to know why it's different. The basic tenets are still there. There's only 4. It's simple. It's been worked on. It's been through numerous scores of IPs over the 5 years been working on it. My joint sponsor, Senator McCauley, and I, we sat through a lot of those. He's worked on it for years before it came to me, and having his advice as we went through this was so important. I came here to get this done. I was a banker for 45 years, and I know how abysmal financial literacy is being taught in the state of Ohio. It comes back to us from the House with, it's a standalone half credit to graduate. There's the secret sauce. That's what's going to make it available to every child in the state of Ohio, all 611 school districts. Everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. The content standards are still there, and we'll talk about one change they made to those in a moment. The qualification to teach standards are still there. They made a few changes, and we'll talk about that in a moment. And the Financial Literacy Fund is still there, and that even they changed a bit, but it's still there. So what did they change? Well, first of all, they changed the date. We dilly-dallied around with this for so long, we needed to move it out another year. But we did so at the House, and that's what you'll be voting on today. The content standards. Well, Representative Manning is an expert in education. And she pointed out to me the department, watch out, I'll tell her. She pointed out to me that the Ohio Department of Education had 3 content standards for financial literacy. So we found the one that we had been working with, specified it in this House amendment, and that's cleaned up. The third thing was the whole idea of who's qualified to teach and how they get qualified. And she did liberalize that some in the compromise that went on in the House, and gave credit to some of those content degrees that had financial literacy as part of what they needed to learn to get their degree in their particular content area. Have no problem with any of those. Then the Financial Literacy Fund, at the request of the Treasurer's Office, that was changed in the House to be administered by the Superintendent of Public Instruction, not the Treasurer. It made sense, took the middleman out of it, but it's still there, and this is still a funded mandate. And then finally, the biggie that was put in at the end, that is something you need to think about. It's important, though. We can't find substitute teachers. I think all 611 school districts are struggling finding substitute teachers. And so that's this amendment that was put in for next school year, for this school year, next school year, allows for some liberalization of who could be a substitute teacher. There'd be many in this room that would probably argue that these should be a permanent change. But this is, in this bill, it is just this one specific time period. And there's two qualifications. The first is that that substitute teacher meets the standards of the specific school district in which they're going to be a substitute. So, for example, if in Jackson, Ohio, their standard is that they have to have at least an associate's degree and be working on an education degree, so be it. They can be a substitute teacher. And then they have to go through the criminal background check, and they have to be of good moral character. And that's up to somebody else to figure that one out. But the net result is this is a good amendment, is an amendment that's supported by the Ohio Department of Education and supported by the Ohio Education Association. So everybody's behind this one. It's a problem like we have workforce all over the state that we can do something about. It's a good amendment. That's it. Other than that, it's what passed out of here unanimously before. I'm going to ask for your support, and I'm going to say to you that we're going to ask for an emergency clause on the amendment, not on the entire bill, but just on the amendment, because that need for substitute teachers is real and today, and we have to get that out there for them immediately. So emergency clause on the amendment, and then the bill will follow the normal course of a bill passed under the regular circumstances. I got to thank some people. I got to thank President Huffman. He's allowed me to push this through Education Committee and to have it debated and thought out, and it's here, it's going to happen, and it's needed to happen for years, and it's been attempted to happen for years. I want to thank Chairman Brenner, Chairwoman Manning, Senator McCauley, our Senate Democrat caucus, who was very supportive of this bill, the Ohio Treasurer Sprague in his office and help with the Financial Literacy Fund, Brian Page, Dr. Julia Heath, Tom Rutan, Evan Claymeyer from the Ohio Bankers League, Emily from the Credit Union League, Bud Palmer from the Community Bankers, Kevin Boehner from the Ohio Chamber of Commerce, and Chris Ferruso from NFIB. That last list of people, they're the people putting the money into the Financial Literacy Fund to make this a funded mandate. ODE, OEA, eventually we got everybody on board. That wasn't easy. And then students. For any of you that were in the committee and heard the students that came and testified, Andy, were they outstanding? They came and they said why they needed it, why that they didn't have it and it caused them problems, why they did have it in school and it helped them along the way. The Senate and caucus staff at LSC, my aides, Melissa Sant originally, who worked on it when I arrived here 5 years ago with me, Libby Hildebrand, who replaced her, John Wells, and my current staff, Ian, and the entire staff who has helped me, and you. Thank you for your support. It's a good day.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes Senator Fetter.
Thank you, Mr. President, and congratulations to Senators Wilson and McCauley. You did a great job, and it truly was a team effort, both chambers, everyone involved, and it's something that Ohio's been interested in for decades, but we haven't been able to make this a priority. And I think Senate Bill 1 says it all. It's Senate Bill number 1. And I think that helps us set the pace of what we need to do to focus on doing what's best for our children. And our children need to have this as an instrumental part of their understanding for their future. Right now, according to the Federal Reserve, 12% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency bill, and 27% would need to use a credit card to dip into savings to cover it. And these are facts prior to our challenge or prior to the rough seas that we're facing now with our pandemic. So thank you for that prayer, because it really brings to light this issue. And according to Money Magazine, 1/3 of American adults have $0 saved for retirement. By teaching children the budgeting, compounding interest rates, and what factors into your credit score, maybe, just maybe, we can make sure future generations are on sure financial secure footing. And now with the House changes in Senate Bill 1, it's even more important to pass this bill with the emergency clause to address our current status in this pandemic. I've heard from my district, and I'm sure you've heard from your districts and local school boards, the struggle to secure enough daily substitutes continues to be a challenge. And our students still need to learn in these rough seas. They still need to get prepared for possibly that state testing that's coming down the road, which has everything to do with their future and their financial security. So with several school districts in Northwest Ohio being forced to revert back to remote learning, not because of maybe outbreaks in the school, it's because of staffing issues. So this bill is directly related to that, and the flexibility now provided to school districts in Senate Bill 1 will allow them to hire substitutes who meet the district-specific educational requirements. I like that because it allows them to be flexible to meet the needs of what they're addressing every day in that school. It provides an individual is deemed to be of good moral character. Someone else gets to decide that, Senator Wilson, and successfully completes all required background checks. Last year, we allowed this flexibility through House Bill 409, which was our Senate President's initiative, and thank you for that. And Toledo Public Schools and many districts across the state found this hiring option to be very successful to provide students with the needed classroom supports, and that's what we're doing here today. In fact, this new license type allowed Toledo Public Schools to approve 120 non-bachelor substitute teaching licenses, I think, this week. I mean, they're almost not waiting for that signature for the governor, and that's how critically important this bill is. The emergency clause allows us to do that, so please join me in support of not only this very important bill for financial literacy for the future of our children, but meeting the rough seas right now in this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the Senate concur in House amendments to Senate Bill number 1? Please call the roll.
Antoni? Yes. Blessing? Yes. Renner? Yes. Serino? Yes. Craig? Yes. Dolan? Yes. Fetter? Yes. Gavrone? Yes. Hackett? Yes. Hoagland? Yes. Hottinger? Yes. Steve Huffman? Yes. Johnson? Yes. Kunze? Yes. Lang? Yes. Mahara? Yes. Manning? Yes. McCauley? Yes. O'Brien? Yes. Peterson? Yes. Reineke? Yes. Rogner? Yes. Romanchuk? Yes. Rulli? Yes. Schaefer? Yes. Schuring? Yes. Sykes? Yes. Thomas? Yes. Williams? Yes. Wilson? Yes. Yuko? Yes. Matt Huffman?
Yes. With 32 yeas and 0 nays, the Senate does concur in House amendments to Senate Bill number 1. The next question regarding Senate Bill 1 is, shall the emergency clause remain part of the bill? Please call the roll.
Antoni? Yes. Blessing? Yes. Brenner? Yes. Serino? Yes. Craig? Yes. Dolan? Yes. Fetter? Yes. Gavrone? Yes. Hackett? Yes. Hoagland? Yes. Hottinger? Yes. Steve Huffman? Yes. Johnson? Yes. Kunze? Yes. Lang? Yes. Mahara? Yes. Manning? Yes. McCauley, O'Brien, Peterson, Reinecke, Rogner, Rumenchuk, Rulli, Schaefer, Scheuring, Sykes, Thomas, Williams, Wilson, Yuko, Matt Huffman.
Yes. With 32 yeas and 0 nays, the emergency clause does remain part of the bill. Before we move on to bills for third consideration, I want to recognize Senator Schaefer for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, President Huffman. Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, I'm proud to let you know and introduce Rod Williams, who is a constituent from Pleasant Township, Fairfield County in Ohio, who's shadowing me today. Let's give Mr. Williams a warm Senate welcome.
The chair also recognizes now Senator Rogner for a point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to recognize today my good friend and former colleague, Marlene Anielski. We served together for 8 years in the House, and she is here today. Please give her a warm Senate welcome.
Yes. Representative Anielski, the chair, also wonderful to see your smiling face again. We did some good things in the House of Representatives, so great to see you. Thanks for coming today. Appreciate that. Bills for third consideration.
Senate Bill 217, Senator Schaefer and others, to amend sections of the revised code and modify the law regarding access to criminal record check information with respect to long care ombudsman programs, direct care positions, community-based long care services, and certain persons serving as municipal corporation tax administrator, and to declare an emergency.
Members, we have two emergency clause items that are part of this, and Senator Schaefer will explain those. We'll have votes on each of them and then also a vote on the bill. That's just by way of explanation, but the first, we of course have to recognize Senator Schaefer regarding this. So, Senator, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is this for the emergency clause first or the amendment to fix?
We'll do. Yeah, you need to move to amend first.
Mr. President, I would like to move the amendment AM 134-1946.
The amendment is in order. Please proceed.
Thank you, President Huffman. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an amendment. It was just an oversight during drafting that when we added the emergency clause to this bill, we forgot to put the words at the end of it saying, therefore, this act shall go into immediate effect. So this simply adds those words to make sure the emergency clause is valid and accurate.
Very good. Without objection, the amendment will become part of the bill. Please proceed for your explanation of the bill and the necessary emergency clauses.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ladies and gentlemen, Senate Bill 217 simply brings us into compliance with federal regulations with the FBI on how we access their criminal databases. This is one of Ohio's critical pieces of technological infrastructure. BCI's background check system is simply out of compliance with federal law. Senate Bill 217 makes a technical change that aligns the existing practices that we do here in Ohio with what the FBI wants us to do. And this is a bill that's going across the country to make sure all the states are in compliance with the FBI. Nothing in this bill limits Ohio's law enforcement agencies' access to information. So that was the first question I had about this bill, was we want to make sure we are not limiting that access. So recently, the Ohio Attorney General's office was informed by the FBI that we have 4 statutes in the revised code that require updates in order to be compliant with the federal standards that are necessary for accessing the federal criminal history record information. And this legislation simply explicitly states that that information is not accessible to private citizens, private entities without a court order or subpoena. Notably, Ohio already restricts this access to these private individuals unless there is a valid subpoena or court order. So we're already doing it right. It's just not in code. So this change simply solemnizes Ohio's current practice in the code. So while this fix will be simple, it's an extremely important change to enact. And by not permitting BCI to continue to provide the information with the FBI statutory requirements, the FBI could revoke BCI's access to the database, and that would be obviously a disaster for criminal investigations across the state. So I'd like to thank Attorney General Dave Yost and his staff for bringing this issue to our attention. and for supporting this bill during the committee process, and also thank my staff, Colin Phillips and Travis Brock, for their help on the issue. President Huffman, thank you again for the opportunity to bring this legislation forward, and I would urge a yes vote.
Thank you, Senator. The Senate will stand at ease. Senator, thank you very much, Senator. The question is, shall the emergency clause remain part of the bill? Senator Schaefer, you'd like to address that?
Thank you, Mr. President. We have an emergency clause on this bill to be sure that, to assure that if the FBI were to get impatient with us, even though we passed the bill, we got 90 days before it goes into effect, and we don't want BCI, the Attorney General's office, or any of our hundreds of law enforcement agencies to go without access to that database. So that's why the emergency clause.
Very good. Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the emergency clause remain part of the bill? Please call the roll.
Antoni. Blessing. Yes. Brenner. Yes. Serino. Yes. Craig. Yes. Dolan. Yes. Fetter. Yes. Gavarone. Yes. Hackett. Yes. Hoagland. Yes. Ottinger. Yes. Steve Huffman. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Kunze. Yes. Lang. Yes. Mahra. Yes. Manning. Yes. McCauley. Yes. O'Brien. Yes. Peterson. Yes. Reineke. Yes. Rogner. Yes. Romanchuk. Rulli. Yes. Schaefer. Yes. Scheuring. Yes. Sykes. Yes. Thomas. Yes. Williams. Wilson. Yes. Yuko. Yes. Matt Huffman.
Yes. With 31 yeas and 1 nay, the emergency clause does remain part of the bill. The next question regarding this bill is, shall the bill pass as an emergency measure? Please call the roll.
Antoni. Yes. Blessing. Yes. Brenner. Yes. Serino. Yes. Craig. Yes. Dolan. Yes. Fetter. Yes. Gavarone. Yes. Hackett. Yes. Hoagland. Yes. Ottinger. Yes. Steve Huffman. Yes. Johnson. Yes. Kunze. Yes. Lang. Yes. Mahra. Yes. Manning. Yes. McCauley. Yes. O'Brien. Yes. Peterson. Yes. Reineke. Yes. Rogner. Yes. Romanchuk. Rulli. Yes. Schaefer. Yes. Scheuring. Yes. Sykes. Yes. Thomas. Yes. Williams. Yes. Wilson. Yes. Yuko. Yes. President Huffman.
Yes. With 32 yeas and 0 nays, the bill is passed as an emergency measure and entitled.
A bill to amend sections of the revised code to modify the law regarding access to criminal record check information with respect to long-care ombudsman programs, direct care positions, community-based long-term care services, and to certain services serving as municipal corporation tax administrator, and to declare an emergency.
The question is, shall the title be agreed to? Any member who would like to add their name to the title, please do so now. The title is agreed to. Bills for third consideration.
Substitute House Bill 291, Representatives Callender, Troy, and others, to amend and to enact sections of the revised code to amend and designate multiple memorial highways and memorial bridges and to create multiple new special license plates.
The question is, shall the bill pass? The chair recognizes Senator Kunze.
Thank you, President Huffman. Members of the Senate, thank you for the opportunity to speak to Substitute House Bill 291. Substitute House Bill 291 designates a portion of State Route 86 in Leroy Township, the Staff Sergeant Kyle R. McKee Memorial Highway. Staff Sergeant McKee passed away in a helicopter crash during a peacekeeping mission in Egypt in November of 2020. Along with Staff Sergeant McKee, this bill memorializes numerous other veterans and first responders who made heroic sacrifices for the well-being of other Ohioans and of our nation. Some of those include Corporal Benjamin Charles Dillon, Sergeant Gary Lee McKitty, PCF Stephen D. Smith, and First Lieutenant Ashley White. This bill also designates the Ohio portion of United States Route 20, which is located in the northern portion of our state, as the Ohio Medal of Honor Highway. Ohio will join with the other states who are currently passing legislation or have passed legislation that connect to name that highway, and it connects the entire 3,300 miles of the United States Route 20 from Massachusetts to Oregon in order to honor the men and women who gave their all defending their country. The markings on these highways and roads will be a reminder for those who travel them of the ultimate sacrifices that were made for our freedoms. Included in this legislation are also a number of specialty license plates that represent and raise money for various organizations across Ohio and the country. One such example of this is the addition of the On Our Sleeves license plate from Senators Brenner and Maharoth. This license plate will both raise awareness to help break the stigmas around children's mental health and also further Nationwide Children's Hospital's efforts to strengthen our community and continue to strengthen our, provide the best care possible to our children. I would like to thank the bill's sponsors, Representative Callender and Troy, for bringing House Bill 291 forward. I would also like to thank the many senators and representatives who have brought their bills forward that make up substitute House Bill 291, and for bringing attention to the many causes that this bill will address on behalf of their constituents. I would also be remiss to not thank the number of Ohioans who testified, family members, friends, and advocates in support of the bill. Thank you again to the members of the Senate Transportation Committee, to Goran Babik and the caucus staff for all of their policy and hard work on combining these bills, to my senior legislative aide, Ben Allison and Maggie Wolf, and thank you for the opportunity, Mr. President, to speak on the floor to substitute House Bill 291, and I respectfully ask for your support.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes Senator Hoagland.
Thank you, President Huffman, for the opportunity to speak on what was a very short-lived bill by both the senator and I and the chair for allowing us to present Senate Bill 250 earlier today. Gavarone and I presented this bill. It had to do with the Memorial Highway, and I first would like to start off by thanking all of our men and women who raised their right hand and swore to serve and protect this great nation. I think that is extremely important. There's only 1% of us that do that. I'd also like to thank Dick Tobison. He's the one that brought it to our office, and we acted on it quickly to try to get it across the finish line. And thanks to the Senate and Chair, we were able to do that because it's already on the floor. So thank you very much. U.S. Highway 20 is the longest highway in the United States, running coast to coast, covers 12 states, over 3,000 miles in length. 260 of those miles run through the northern portion of Ohio across 10 counties. This legislation is a part of a greater project dedicated to the entirety of U.S. Highway 20 as the Medal of Honor highway across America. We're not the first state to introduce this legislation for this project, but in fact, we are second to the last. Designating our portion of Highway 20 as Medal of Honor highway is a small lift compared to all the Medal of Honor recipients that are going around every day telling stories about how this great nation stays free. I can assure you that we as state legislators are doing the right thing in designating our state portion of Highway 20 as the Ohio Medal of Honor highway. We as a community, state, and nation must never forget the sacrifices of our American heroes and what they did to protect and defend this great nation. It is fitting that we do our part, participate in our nation's efforts in celebrating and remembering our veterans that served. I'd also like to throw a shout out to both Slags and Ed Byers. Ed is actually a Medal of Honor recipient. I believe it is in Senator Teresa Gavarone's district. And thank you very much for the opportunity to speak on this piece of legislation, and I strongly recommend your support.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes Senator Maharoth.
Thank you, Mr. President. And today I rise in support as well to join my colleagues for House Bill 291. As Chairwoman Kunze already mentioned, that and the bill was amended to include Senate Bill 174, which would create a specialty license plate for the On Our Sleeves campaign that was joint sponsored with Senator Brenner. And just a little background that I wanted to mention was the On Our Sleeves campaign was launched on World Mental Health Day in 2018 by Nationwide Children's Hospital. So some alarming facts that I brought over to the committee that I wanted to share with the floor today was that 1 in 5 children is living with a mental health disorder, and less than half of those get treated or get the treatment that they need. And just one child psychiatrist is available for every 15,000 kids who need their help. And only 50% of mental health disorders that last a lifetime become present before the age of 14. And suicide is the second leading cause of death among persons between the ages of 15 and 25. So by passing this piece of legislation today, we're going to be joining numerous education, corporate, and healthcare partners in stepping up to break the stigma around children's mental health. Again, Chairwoman Coonsey, I want to thank you again for amending this into the bill, and Senator Brenner for joint sponsoring this bill with me, and members of the committee for taking it into very consideration. And another note I want to mention is that on Sunday this year will be Mental Health Day here, so I would appreciate the yes vote from all my colleagues today, so that way we can get it passed accordingly on time, so that way we can honor all these kids this weekend. So again, thank you everybody, and I hope a yes vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes Senator Schaefer.
Thank you, President Huffman, and I too would like to sing the praises of Chairwoman Coonsey for putting together a very complex bill. There have got to be hundreds of moving parts to a bill like this, and thank you, to your staff, to caucus staff, and everybody involved to help put it all together. This is one of those bills that we all probably go running at the last minute wanting additions, and somebody has to manage that, so done very skillfully. And Mr. President, as we all know, and I'd like to capitalize on Senator Hoagland's remarks as well, our men and women who serve overseas on the front lines are some of the greatest people this earth has ever seen. One of these heroes was Sergeant Joseph Coletti from my hometown of Lancaster, who was taken from this earth far too soon at the age of 29 while fighting in Afghanistan. And this has been a relatively recent, in the last couple of years, loss to us in Lancaster and Fairfield County, which is the reason why it's still fresh in our minds, and I'd like to describe Sergeant Coletti a little bit in the circumstances. This bill would designate a portion of State Route 158 in Fairfield County as the Sergeant Joseph P. Coletti Memorial Highway. Sergeant Coletti was a husband and a father of 2 young children, and he loved to make people smile. He had one of the most dangerous jobs in the military. He was serving in the Army in the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Group, but that didn't faze him. He had a mission to complete. He was a patriot who always wanted to be deployed with the United States military, and he died doing what he felt called to do. So again, thank you to everybody. I hope everybody votes yes. There are a lot of stories like this in this bill, and this was particularly personal to me, and as well as fresh in the memories of Fairfield County citizens. So thank you, President Huffman, for your indulgence, and thank you again, Chairwoman Coonsey, for helping out on this bill.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes Senator Fetter.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you all for having a part in putting this really special reminder for everyone, even as we're traveling the state in different parts of the state. We read these signs along the highway, and we know what it means to people who put forward the names in the community. And I have 2 from my community. Officer Anthony Dia, Memorial Highway, is recognized. And shortly after that, another officer serving in the line of duty in our community was killed, Officer Brandon Stalker, Memorial Highway. And it's heartbreaking for the community to have such tragedy back to back. And so for all the law enforcement who's recognized in the state of Ohio, we honor you and we thank you. So we need to continue to do this because it is meaningful as we travel around the state and learn of those stories in your community. So thank you. I urge your support.
Thank you, Senator. The chair recognizes Senator Brenner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise in support of Substitute House Bill 291, and I want to thank you, thank Chair Coonsey and my joint sponsor, Senator Mahara, on including the on our sleeves license plate. Clearly, mental health has been a major issue with this COVID issue over the last 18 months, especially with kids, and it's very important that we include that. And it's also important because this includes the Little Brown Jug license plate bill, which we just had the 76th running of it, and the winner was Luz Perlman just 2 weeks ago at the Little Brown Jug. So including that license plate will help with that as well. So I thank you very much and appreciate the support.
Thank you, Senator. The question is, shall the bill pass? Please call the roll.
Antoni? Yes. Blessing? Yes. Brenner? Yes. Sereno. Craig. Dolan. Fetter. Gavarone. Hackett. Hoagland. Hottinger. Steve Huffman. Johnson. Kunze. Lang. Mahara. Manning. McCauley. O'Brien. Peterson. Reinecke. Rogner. Romanchuk. Rulli. Schaefer. Scheuring. Sykes. Thomas. Williams. Wilson. Yuko. President Huffman.
Yes. With 32 yeas and 0 nays, the bill is passed and entitled.
A bill to amend into next sections of the revised code to amend and designate multiple memorial highways and memorial bridges and to create multiple new specialty license plates.
The question is, shall the title be agreed to? Any member would like to add their name to the title, please do so now. The title is agreed to. The chair recognizes Senator McCauley for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the senators absent the week of Sunday, October 3rd, 2021, be excused so long as a written explanation is on file with the clerk pursuant to Senate Rule 17.
Without objection, the motion is agreed to. Introduction and first consideration of bills.
Senate Bill 253, Senator Fetter Antonio and others to amend sections of the revised code to establish and operate the Ohio Health Care Plan to provide universal health care coverage to all Ohio residents.
Stands as first consideration, offering of resolutions. The question is, shall the resolutions listed under the President's prerogative be adopted? Without objection, the resolutions are adopted. Message from the President.
Pursuant to Section 5123-603 of the revised code, the President of the Senate appoints the following senators to serve on the Joint Committee to examine activities of the state's Protection and Advocacy System and Client Assistance Program. Senators Brenner, Romanchuk. Also, pursuant to Section 5123-603 of the revised code, the President of the Senate appoints the following member to serve as chair of the Joint Committee to examine the activities of the state's Protection and Advocacy System and Client Assistance Program, Senator Romanchuk.
Message from the President.
Pursuant to Section 10341 of the revised code, the President of the Senate appoints Senator Romanchuk to serve as vice chair on the Joint Medicaid Oversight Committee.
Message from the President.
Pursuant to Section 331960 of the revised code, the President of the Senate appoints the following members to serve on the Educator Standards Board: Andrea Helfrich, Franklin County; Chris Pfister, Allen County.
Message from the President.
Pursuant to Section 381630 of the revised code, or of amended House Bill 110 of the 134th General Assembly, the President of the Senate appoints the following senators to serve in the Law Enforcement Training Fund Study Commission: Senators Hoagland, O'Brien, and Thomas.
Message from the House.
Mr. President, I am directed to inform you that the House of Representatives accedes to the request of the Senate for the Committee of Conference on Matters of Difference between the two houses on amended House Bill number 29, Representative Wiggum and others, and that the Speaker of the House has appointed managers on part of the House of Matters of Such Difference, Representatives Edwards, Seitz, and A. Miller.
Message from the President.
Pursuant to Senate Rule number 19, or number 30, the President of the Senate appoints the following members to serve on the Conference Committee for amended House Bill 29, Senators Scheuring, Manning, and Thomas.
Chair recognizes Senator Hottinger for a motion.
Mr. President, I move that the Senate, having completed its business, adjourn until Thursday, October 7th, 2021 at 9:30 a.m.
The question is, shall the motion be agreed to? Without objection, the motion is agreed to. The Senate stands adjourned.